All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, episode 59. Get close to episode 60. Glad to have y'all back, man. I would say, Hunter, what would you say? I think this week, I'm going to say it was a combination of like really ugly games and some fun ones. But I think this week leaned towards like uglier.
Do you think this is the week, in my opinion, that really, in my opinion, I'm asking you, do you think this is the week that really separated the pretenders from contenders?
Yeah, like it was coming soon, but
one of the biggest games that we'll get to, like San Fran at Jacksonville, just what a poor performance. And not to say the Bengals aren't contenders, but maybe the Texans are moving their way into, I don't know about Super Bowl contenders, but maybe a playoff win.
No, I mean the Texans are they're itching. We're gonna get to them. Because I got a lot to say about the Texans.
All right, let's start off with Thursday night. We have Carolina at Chicago. My first question for you, and then we can get into the game, is the Chicago Bears defense legit with Montez Sweat?
So here's what I'll say. Absolutely not yet.
Okay.
Now here's my thing. Absolutely not yet. But again, what we're talking about and what you love to see if you're a Bears fan is like, look, there's still going to be a lot of holes in this defense, right? In reality situation. A lot of things have got to be fixed, and it's just the way it is. But regardless, you add a guy like Montez Sweat. Okay, look, we're getting instant pressure added. Okay, so on top of that, you already see. I mean, the D line last week was looking, in my opinion, the pressure rate. And yes, I will. Let's be clear, against a team like the Panthers. Okay, it's a little bit different. Sample size a little bit different, and you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
But regardless, look, let's pull it up real quick, just so I got my numbers here. You got Justin Jones getting a sack, Yannick Ngakoue getting a sack, Rasheem Green getting a sack. And it's fine. Here's the thing, regardless. It's like Montez doesn't even need to be getting all the numbers himself. But his impact is being felt by getting other guys involved. I mean, there's not many games this year where the Bears have 3 sacks in a game. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but genuinely, the Bears D-line is not getting home more than once or twice a game very often ever. So to see this in the first week with him, you got to love to see it. He's making opportunities for other people. Again, far from being a good defense, but I think this is the first piece you can look back to when you finally do have that good defense in a few years, couple years, as long as they keep building upon this. And you'll be like, all right, that was the moment that it started coming together for us.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too, is like their secondary is now healthy and everything like that. I think this game, regardless if it was against a horrible Panthers team or not, you could definitely see more continuity in the defense. And I think that's what fans have been looking for all year. Now, on the other side, the Panthers defense was just wasn't there, non-existent.
Well, they're also, okay, I know the Panthers have a lot of things going on with them, right? Like, they have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of things, too, where we've been saying you're hitting a critical point where you're going to have to, rather situation, there are going to be guys that you're going to have to sign or make a decision on trading, where the value might be better on trading than this offseason.
Right.
So you
Brian
just have
Burns.
this, well, and I wanted to get back to that. I know we talked about this last week again too, but we have to bring it up every time we have a chance while it's still relevant, because it is. I mean, it's critical stuff you have to remember. When you had the 2 first-round picks on the table for Brian Burns, like this will keep looking worse and worse.
Yeah.
Because now it's looking like you're not even going to keep him. And on top of it, I don't know. Even if you do, I think having the 2 first-round picks with the stated team would have been nice. Obviously, having an edge rusher like Brian Burns is huge. But again, when the team is the way it is now and your competitive window is still so much farther away from being open than this year, in my opinion, I don't think that the Panthers are one of those teams that can kind of just snap their fingers, make a few moves, and be competitive. Like, no, it's really going to be one of those bleak processes where it's going to take a few seasons, especially with Bryce being the guy. You got to put a lot of things in place for Bryce. Like, the Panthers as a whole, defense on top of the offense, that's why the question was, are the Panthers in like the most bleak situation? That was one of the teams I wanted to ask about, because at this point, it's coming down to the race of like, who is in the most bleak situation? Shit, unfortunately for the Panthers, they're definitely right up there in the top 3. There's no doubt about it.
Well, because, I mean, if you're a Panthers fan, how do you trust the GM? Like, they traded away what they traded away to get Bryce Young. And not to say that this is all Bryce Young's fault, but you could have recouped all that with Brian Burns. I mean, shit, you could have traded away Derek Brown or Brian Burns instead of DJ Moore. And my thing is, why would you trade away an asset that's going to help your young guy that you're trying to acquire? So at the end of the day, the Panthers, I would say, are probably one of the most bleak situations in the NFL, to your question, because how do you trust the GM to get you out of this? I mean, like, no one's going to be offering 2 firsts for Brian Burns anymore. I mean, how often are 2 firsts on the table for any player?
Well, I was going to say on top of that, Look, Brian Burns ain't getting you a sack yesterday. The Panthers 0 sacks in the day. Like, this D-line isn't producing regardless. You know, and I'm not saying Brian Burns is not still a good edge rusher. He is. He's still a very good edge rusher. But the reality is, if you look at it from a Panthers fan's perspective of, man, we could have 2 first-rounders, 2 early first-rounders for Brian, it's just a sad moment, 100%, no matter how you're going to slice that.
So I guess my thing is, like, what do you do if you're the Panthers on offense? Like, because last week I released a video called Bryce Sucks, and it got a decent amount of views, and like people obviously probably didn't like the title, but
that's what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah,
they just don't get it.
Basically, my point is, like, he doesn't suck, but he's on the path to sucking if the things around him don't improve. So kind of like what, you know, a note you had down is like, beyond Thielen, there's really nothing on that offense.
So this is what I wanted to bring up, because that's how I was literally going to go to that next. But here's the thing. Well, I'm coming to the point where I'll see him make some flashes with Mingo. Like, there'll be a few plays every couple games or every game where you're like, oh, okay, like a couple. It's just literally what I mean a couple. Right. You're like, all right, yeah, like good play. And Mingo, he made a, you know, like nice grab, nice route. Like, all right, I like to see that. But then it's just like there's never anything built upon it. And hey, look, maybe this is just this first year. Maybe they're going to take time to get a connection. But me personally, and I think a lot of fans would agree, if you're going to see a connection start forming, it kind of starts to happen pretty fast. It's not, and kind of like you use Thielen as the example. Like, it didn't take multiple years with Thielen. You see that chemistry. The issue is, a guy like Thielen, you know, is only getting older every year, and he's not going to be there when you're in competitive window time. So it's like, what is the point of even extending that chemistry? That's like, unfortunately, all these issues are very real, where we can sit here and joke about it. But if you're a Panthers fan and you're the Panthers, all this is so real. Where do you go after this year with Thielen? You need to start getting receivers around him. It's like,
I think the biggest thing to switch over almost to the Bears side of the offense, when you have like a D2 undrafted rookie almost playing, not to say they have the same capability, but statistically playing around the same level, that is a major cause for concern. And the fact that they actually won the game is very scary.
That's the last note I wanted to point out, but it's funny enough, like the Harlan Hill trophy winner and the Heisman winner clash first in history happening. Who would have thought?
I didn't even peep that.
The Harlan Hill boys brought it home. You can't make that shit up. That's just hilarious. And you got to love it, because it's like, it's one of those things where the Heisman guys might never have even a chance to defend that. Like, that just might be 1-0 forever, because really, when is that going to, I mean, it could, but
very rarely, I think it'll ever, I don't think it'll ever happen again. I mean, kind of like what you put down here, really the only bright spot of that Bears offense, like we're shitting on the Panthers, but the Bears didn't have that great of a day on offense either. And the Panthers don't have the greatest D. So like Deontay Foreman, very bright spot for the Bears, in my opinion. I don't know why they didn't hand him the ball earlier.
You got to give a shout out to the Panthers for the man, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like,
and they signed Miles Sanders.
And I know Panthers fans they're finally on our side, though. You know, it took halfway through the year for them to realize what I realized before the pen was even put to the paper and the rumors were around. But the reality is, I'm not even baking them. I'm just gonna let them have it. They know what it is at this point. I won't even get into it. But running backs, man, you got to be careful.
From one ugly game to the next, let's go to Germany. The Indianapolis Colts versus the New England Patriots. You have worst game of the year candidate. I will second that. It was, I love football. So like whenever I watch football, I'm like, okay, like even if it's a bad game, I enjoy it to an extent. This game was just beyond a couple throws from Gardner Minshew and a nice catch from Josh Downs. Beyond that, I just was so over watching this. Like the Patriots are so incompetent. Mac Jones is so bad. Like Demario Douglas,
that's the
very bright spot.
That's, if you're a Patriots fan, buy the jersey, because I shit you not, if I was a Patriots fan, I don't know who else would be buying the jersey at this point. Buy that man's jersey, Pats fans. But yeah, I mean, back to all your original points, bro. Where do we even start? Because there's so many moments even in the game that's like I want to get to, but there's just almost too many to even get on. Let's go to the critical ones that everybody's been talking about, because I know those are the ones everybody that's where the discussion's been. Okay, number one, Mac Jones throwing that bitch. What do you even call it? I don't know whether to call it cross body sidearm, cross sidearm, falling back cross sidearm. Like he attempted a whole new motion on and you know what play I'm talking about, where it was to the end zone and he didn't make to the end zone. Safety just turns around. He's like, oh my God, ain't no way. That was literally one of the plays, that Jair Alexander moments. He said, hey, no way it's falling to me. That's how he felt. And I mean, but not just that moment. Let's go to the even more critical one, right? Because I think it's interesting that Bailey Zapp after the game had said about this. So the fake spike moment, right?
Yeah.
He said, if I want to say what I want to say right now, I'll get in trouble. So it's like, okay, he either means two things, right? Number one, what's the most likely thing?
Before you say this, a New England reporter came out and asked him, and he said it was about refs and penalties.
That's what I thought. I was saying.
Okay.
I was going to say option one, which you'd lean toward would be that. I would say number two. Okay, so we wouldn't get into the conspiracies, but minus the conspiracies, let's just get into the dichotomy of the play. Regardless,
into it, because what if he actually meant that, but he didn't want to admit to it?
Well, I'm saying like the dichotomy of the play is like number one. I do. I mean, I'm leaning towards that. Bailey just he really just kind of made a mistake, and it's like, okay, I mean, really, why would that ever be coached into the? I mean, really, why would it ever be? But let's just say, some way, somehow. I mean, it's like, that's where the problem comes in, though. It's like there's really not even anything I can conspiracize with. It's more just fun. It's like, really, what would the conspiracy be? He was told to throw it no matter what. I mean, it's like realistically, he probably just made a big mistake. But that's the point, regardless. This is what I actually really am curious about. Did he just dial up the fake spike himself? Like, I'm throwing, or was the fake spike from the sideline? And then because everybody just all look confused and off on the same page. Like, it's like, I don't know. Bill was like, hold on a minute. Why did you just call that up? He's like, I need, like, everybody just like, I truly don't even know where to start with this whole team at this point. And if you told me it was going to be the Patriots that it'd be this way with, I'd say you're a liar. I knew the Patriots weren't going to be good this year, but the complete dumpster fire joke that the franchise has become this year, you can't make it up because you can't take away everything they've done. You never will be able to. But the fact that they went from so high to so low this quickly, it's definitely very surprising to me. I did not think it was going to be this case.
I mean, I think this game was really more about like the Pats because like, I don't think many people expected the Colts to be like a 500 team, especially with Anthony Richardson going down.
We sure didn't.
And I think it is a very impressive game from the Colts in the aspect of the fact that no one expected them to be here. And every win that they get is just like, okay, good job. You guys are building a culture here. You guys are building an impressive team here. Even if you're winning by 3 to the Patriots, like, or 4 to the Patriots. So it's like this game, like there's really not much to say about the Colts other than like Gardner Minshew is playing well. Michael Pittman is having a pretty good year. But it's just like on all sides of on everything. It's just like this game is just about the Patriots sucking everywhere.
That's what's funny is, if this was any other game, I'd be on the case of, I'm surprised that the Colts played this bad, because it was a bad showing from the Colts.
Yeah.
But it's funny. We don't even have to talk about that at all because the Colts were it's funny. Who even was the underdog at this point? We both just expected them to be bad teams this year. This was just a bad team matchup to an extent, but the Colts are on the good side of the bad. You go where I'm going with this. But it's like
a win is a win.
Yeah,
basically.
Normally you get on the Colts for a game like this, but it doesn't even matter because of how bad the Patriots are. And while we're on the Colts, I'll talk about some bright spots real quick. The second round pick last year, Daya Audingbo, 3 sacks on the day. Love that if you're a Colts fan. I mean, that's an explosive day. If for the Saints, if our pass rushers drafted in the first or second round have ever had a day with 3 sacks over the past few years, I'd be geeking. But it doesn't happen. And then I have to give a shout out to Michael Pittman too, because Michael Pittman with 66 catches on the year already, 667 yards, 3 touchdowns. Touchdown number is nothing eye-popping, but man, he gets a lot of targets, he gets a lot of catches, he gets a lot of yards, and he's growing every year. Like if you're a Colts fan, you're getting on Michael Pittman. He's going to start hitting the ceiling soon, and you got a really productive receiver over there. So that's absolutely awesome. And I just had to go back to the Patriots real quick though, because it's like I feel like I'm not even done with everything I had to say about them on top of this. Top how bad the offense is, which is probably at a historic rate at this point. I have to do some math, and I have to do some checking. But they're probably at a historically terrible scoring rate, not even like yardage rate, just putting the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
0 sacks on the day, also from the Patriots D-line. The Patriots D-line. I mean, not the Patriots D-line. Patriots coaching staff. Like, I've been kind of beside, and even Bill at this point, it's probably getting risky. I mean, like, it's like, are they really? This might be the blow it up.
The only team scoring less
it.
is the Giants.
Like that's where it's funny is if the Patriots would probably normally be on a historically low streak, but then you have the Giants over here that are also probably on a historically low streak where it's like you got them going for history together, shooting down at a trajectory together. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. The Patriots are just unfortunately way more the topic of this game. And are they going to blow it up? I was so not on that towards the beginning of the year, but now it's like, oh man, probably. Like, even Bill might be included in this some way, somehow, soon enough at this rate.
That's hilarious because I didn't even ask the question, and my question was, will the Patriots clean house after this year?
This
It has to
is
be
a
on everyone's
really
mind.
because this is like worst case scenario where you were like, we'd say to ourselves like, oh, if they hit this worst case scenario, like maybe it's possible, but you never thought it was possible. And like now that you're witnessing it with your own eyes, it's jarring.
It's very jarring. Now, another game that's not jarring but surprising in the outcome, Houston at Cincinnati. So my question for you is, I think people were open to the reality that Houston could win this game, but I don't think anybody really thought they would actually win. So with this win over a perennial deep playoff run team in the Bengals, do you think the Texans could make and win a playoff game this year?
So hear me out. It's not that they couldn't. I still think it leans unlikely. But I'm also, me, I'm keeping it real, but I'm gonna keep positive for Texans fans. Don't get on me yet. I'm keeping it positive for you guys. What I think it means is, making the playoffs this year, on top of even just making it's gonna be tough because of how hard the AFC is right now, right? Which that's always been the reality for them. Every team that was gonna be a hopeful playoff team in the AFC. But on top of just making it, winning one it's gonna be very tough with the landscape of the conference right now. But what it means is, look, you're showing
they're currently the 7th seed.
That is crazy. So as of right now, yeah, and that's where it's again. But when you got the teams like the Bengals and the Bills in that mix, it's hard to say like, okay, by the end of it, they're going to still be sitting right there. Absolutely, though, is it possible? Again, absolutely. But back to the original point, like this is what I want Texas fans to understand because this is really this is the good thing I'm trying to say. Is what I think it means is this year, probably not this year, right? Maybe if you just win one, it's like, is this the year though? The year? No. But what it means is like, you know what? We have not only are we young and incomplete, we can still go out here and beat good teams like this. It's the whole thing of, you got to put it together against 3 or 4 teams in a row to go do the whole thing. But I think it shows you are much closer than we ever thought the Texans were going to be to doing that. Like initially when they first added CJ at the beginning of this year, I'd be lying to tell you that I didn't say that they were going to be taking at least, 4 years, 5 years to become like a Super Bowl contending team. Like it's going to take a lot. We're going to see a lot of growth out of CJ, yada, yada. Well, sure enough, I was very wrong. And it's like, no, CJ's already really grown. They're really just missing a few pieces here and there, and they're going to be ready to go for it in like, dare I even say like 2 years if they can just stay healthy.
I think another thing about the Texans too is like, obviously you are feeling pretty confident you got your franchise quarterback in the draft. But I mean, their receiving core has just been electric, whether it's Noah Brown, whether it's Tank Dell, whether it's Dalton Schultz, even Robert Woods is contributing. Like, they have guys all around. And it's like, whether that is pure talent, CJ Stroud elevating these guys, it doesn't matter. Like, the fact that you're winning with this lineup and against very good teams, imagine when you actually have like more talent around CJ Stroud. Like, imagine if they went and got like a true number. Like, imagine they went and got T. Higgins.
That would actually be ridiculous. Something to keep our eye on. Because that's something that might be very heavily in the realm of possibility. Side note, too, just because we were saying it, I remember, Noah Brown had a lot of like low-key haters when he was in the Cowboys. Like, kind of like hating agents. Like, no, he like Cowboys fans that we're not going to let him have success.
Because Dak Prescott couldn't elevate him.
They'd be like, no, dude, no. He's only getting those numbers because there's so many good receivers around him and it's just target share volume, yada, yada. Hey, sure enough, Noah Brown telling y'all to go fuck yourselves. I'm going to just leave it at that. Noah Brown says, hold on a minute, I can get mines regardless of who's around me. As long as my QB's targeting me, you got to give a shout to Noah Brown for that. I
mean, outside of the Texans offense too, like their defense was letting it up. Like they were shutting down the Bengals offense.
No, I mean, so honestly, like Sheldon Rankins with 3 sacks in the day for the Texans. That's some like, I don't know if he ever hit those numbers with the Saints. He was a beast on the Saints, but Sheldon Rankins with the vintage Sheldon Rankins, a vintage on steroids, Sheldon Rankins Day. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
So yeah. What are you thinking about the Bengals at this point? Like, they came back once they're being down in this game. They came back after being down in their season to get, above 500. But I mean, Joe Burrow had 2 interceptions, only 16 carries on the ground. Like, what? Do you think this is just kind of a fluke game for the Bengals, or do you think this is something that they need to be concerned about? Because all year, I mean, like, oh, maybe this isn't a fluke, and then it proves it's not a fluke, and the Bengals are back on track, and then they lose to a Texans team who no one thought would have more than maybe 4 or 5 wins all year.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, that's where it gets really tough if you're a Bengals fan. Because if you're a Bengals fan, and I said to you, the games you've lost this year already was when you had the Browns week 1 and then the Titans. And okay, and the Ravens is totally fair. But then the one yesterday, right? And then it's like, now hold on a minute. And I'm telling you, you have to play the Ravens again, the Steelers again, the Jaguars. The Josh Dobbs Vikings, which is at this point feisty and ferocious. I mean, shit, they're in a weird category. You got the Steelers again, the Chiefs, and the Browns again. I mean, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, because I've been so back on that the Bengals are for sure going to ride it out and they're definitely going to make the playoffs. I mean, they really might have screwed themselves with how the season started. Because not this to say, again, it's not like I'm not going to sit here and panic about the Bengals. I think the Bengals are still the same team they were. It's just that they put themselves in such a bad spot with how they started the year. It truthfully might be insurmountable if they can't literally ace out. I mean that because they're not going to. That's why I say it's easy to say that, but they're going to realistically lose at least a few of these, at least a couple. Yeah. Unless that they have that perfect run. And it's almost like this, if you don't have that perfect run, you're going to be maybe on the outside looking in when it comes to playoff time.
Well, fortunately and unfortunately, it's a blessing and a curse. In the AFC, it's almost like just make the playoffs. Like it doesn't matter what seed you are, just make it because all the teams are good enough to beat each other. So that's the issue, though, is like right now you sit on the bubble and it's really going to be like one of these losses, like losing to the Titans, like that could realistically thrown you out of the playoff race.
No, that's a lot of these could have. That's where it's like just the way they started those first 5 weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah, I think it will. Even if they make the playoffs, that is going to be what we will look towards literally till the last week as like that was their narrative this year. Like how much they started the year was really like shaky and it had to affect how they ended it. But to finish it out with them, it's like, I don't worry about them. They're still a good team. Joe Burrow's health at the beginning of the year. Just fuck them this year. That is what it is. Joe Burrow's beginning of the season health, unfortunately, might have an effect on the whole year. But if you're a Bengals fan, at least you say to yourself, shit, at least Joey's healthy now. You got to love that. This year doesn't mean everything long term, but you still want to make the playoffs. You want to go on that run. So
another game that I don't know if fans really expected them to pull out. Minnesota comes out on top of New Orleans. And my question for you is, how far can the Vikings go with Josh Dobbs?
I thought of exactly how I'm going to phrase the answer to this question because it goes along with my narrative for this game, right? It's not even about how far Josh Dobbs can go. It's about how far that him and Kevin O'Connell's little interim marriage can go this year. Because really, as you saw, the blinding difference in this game was I'm going to emphasize this so much. The glaring difference in skill of Kevin O'Connell and Dennis Allen. You got Kevin O'Connell with like nobody, down bare on defense and offense. He made it work. And you got Dennis Allen finally with mostly a full healthy roster. And what do? Garbage. Garbage. The effort level completely different. You can. I'm trying not to get like too Saints homerish on this, but the reality is at this point, every Saints fan knows the coaching staff is not good enough. And when you see a coaching staff like the Vikings have making it work with the bare bones option, and then you have a fully the guys you all paid and wanted, they're not even ready to give a shit on and it's just week to week. Worst thing about the Saints is they're a team that picks and chooses when they want to show up. You get a great team one week, you get literally one of the worst teams in the league the next week. There's no consistency. There's no identity. I'll talk about identity-less teams a lot. The Saints are officially in the identity-less category. I mean it genuinely. What is the Saints' identity? It was good defense, but now it's not because they're not consistently good on defense. It was good offense, definitely not consistently good on offense. I guess we're consistently the shittiest special teams unit. You want to give us the Saints something? How about that? I'll give us we're the consistently the shittiest special teams unit every week. Whether it be our punter playing like shit or Blake Groupie playing like shit. So if you're a Vikings fan, I think you're definitely. But that's what's funny too, though, is regardless, the Saints are still in the playoffs right now, where it's like the NFC South is so garbage that you can just be a garbage dump and expect to make the playoffs out of the NFC, kind of like how it's been the past couple of years. It's hashtag I just guess remove the NFC South from the playoffs at this point. I mean, it's like we're out here just taking up spots. Jokes aside, a team like the Vikings, you got to feel like you got a real good shot to be the last wild card spot at this point, which is so crazy given my narratives a few weeks ago. Yeah. The rebuild was starting. I'm always not his guy. I said the rebuild is starting fast. They're screwed. Shit, sure enough. No. Back to my thing about coaching and having an identity and having guys that have a vision in the locker room. No, when you got a guy like Kevin O'Connell and you got a team as resilient as the Vikings, they prove me wrong. The Vikings are still a competitive team. Obviously, you got a lot of questions now.
Yeah.
But at least you got an answer with Josh Dobbs. You got at least one answer. You're like, you know what? We can make it work as long as we got a guy in the meantime.
Well, with Josh Dobbs and Kevin O'Connell, I mean, Kevin O'Connell comes from, that Sean McVay tree and everything like that. I guess the thing is, I mean, with Josh Dobbs, you open up a whole nother part of the offense. You can run the quarterback now. Like, you weren't seeing that with Kirk. You weren't seeing RPOs. You weren't seeing, quarterback runs. I mean, when you have TJ Hawkinson, arguably one of the top 3 tight end in the league, you have Justin Jefferson that's going to be coming back. You have Jordan Addison, who was your first round pick this year, who's shown he can be dominant. Like, we talked about the rebuild, but the more and more we talk about it, like, as long as they can get a guy that can play in Kevin O'Connell's system, the weapons are there. And to go back to coaching, Kevin O'Connell has shown that he's been a very good coach. I mean, regardless of how you feel about those 1-score games last year, going 13-4 is hard. And after all the mistakes that have happened earlier in the year, to come back and go on a 5-game winning streak, like, Brian Flores, regardless how you feel about him as a head coach, is a great defensive coordinator. So my thing is, you have 2 good coaches, you have amazing skill weapons, and now you have a guy who is so scrappy at quarterback and a very intuitive head coach. That is an offensive-minded head coach. Like, I don't want to say the sky is the limit for the Vikings, but it is the ceiling is a lot higher than a lot of people thought after probably like week 4 or 5.
Well, especially in this bad NFC. I mean, it's a weird year, and it's a good year to be a weird team in the NFC.
Now, how do you feel about the Saints on offense? Because Jameis came in and almost played better than Derek Carr.
Well, but at the same time, that's also like, that's the thing that comes with it. Like, I'll give it to you from the Saints fans' perspective, at least from my perspective. That's what makes it so tough. Is when you get here, I'll say it like this. This is the consensus that I think most Saints fans have come to. When you have Derek Carr in the game, it's going to be boring and the offense is going to suck. And when you have Jameis in the game, the offense will be fun, but the offense will still suck. Like, it doesn't really matter, because this is the big difference between the two. Derek will play it safe long enough that eventually a big play will open up. He'll make the big play. But all the other times we'll look and we'll be like, well, we didn't make enough big plays. That's why we lost. And then with Jameis, bunch of big plays. Oh, bunch of critical mistakes then towards the end because you're trying to force it. So it's like, it doesn't really matter what one we go with. Unfortunately, the reality is, again, back to Pete Carmichael, the play calling is also just garbage. Play calling is garbage. Doesn't matter who we have back there. The play calling in itself is garbage. The quarterback room itself is not good at the moment. And our receiver room has been inconsistent. I'm going to call it for what it is. Olave will have one good week, 1 week this year, and then he'll be dropping balls next week. I want to see him continue on the trend of being good. Michael Thomas back being injured. Hopefully he can bounce back from that quickly. But then that was the whole thing with the contract this week. Don't want to break at a contractor's car. I mean, I don't even get into that. It's such a minor little story. Who gives a shit? But point is, Saints receiving core, inconsistent. Saints offense, Saints officially inconsistent, and somehow still in the playoffs. But then, because I want to switch over to the team that deserves our respect this week, deserves to actually be talked about, like the Vikings offense. Like I said, all these guys. Look, you got Ty Chandler getting his first not real touches, but like starting, actually getting like splitting touches. He had a great game. He had a touchdown. Let me pull up his exact numbers here in a sec. But then I got also TJ Hawkinson cooking different. I mean, 11 receptions, 134 yards, a touchdown on the day. The connection him and Josh Dobbs have, I mean, Vikings offense with the minimal pieces they even have right now without J.J. and stuff and KJ Osborne, like, it doesn't even matter. That's because, again, the coach knows what he's doing. They have a system in place. If you're a Vikings fan, that's got to excite you, man.
What has to excite Steelers fans is the fact that they keep pulling out these wins with such a mid offense. So with that question, Green Bay at Pittsburgh, how long can the Pittsburgh D drag the offense to victories? When does this stop?
No, yeah, okay. Well, I'm trying to think of who's like our because there's another team I'm like blanking so hard right now where they're in that exact same boat as the Steelers. Well, actually, no, I'm not, because that team right now, the thing is, it won't be like this for long. It's the Jets. But the difference between the two is, yes, exactly. The Jets have the lights at the end of the tunnel already. With the Steelers, I mean, yeah, genuinely. Look, let's call it for what it is, because I'm done playing games with it. I'm just going to call it for what it is. It's a fact. It's not let's stop playing. Let's stop tiptoeing around this subject. Yes, Matt Canada is a terrible offensive coordinator. However, on top of it, oh my God, I'm ready. Here comes the hate. Kenny Pickett's not playing very good. And Kenny Pickett's not showing any major flashes. And Kenny Pickett doesn't look like he's the guy that's going to take them to the fucking promised land. Oh, shoot me. Oh, fucking call me a dick. Call me. I don't care. I'm tired of playing this game because that's what we know it. Look, the Steelers offense fucking sucks. But on top of that, Kenny Pickett is not elevating it at all. So it's the worst combination possible. Like, yeah, you can only blame an offense for being shitty for so long. I'll use the Texans as my example here. If you didn't have CJ back there, it would not look like it does right now. Like, yes, is CJ much better? And is the Texans offense much better than the Steelers? Yes, but the point I'm making still is trying to stand regardless is that you have a guy who will elevate people if they elevate people. That's not Kenny, clearly. It's just not until the fourth quarter comes around. So why I'm getting so frustrated with that is because you have Steelers fans that are trying to act like it's all Matt Canada's doing. It's not. Like, you guys could bring in a new offensive coordinator tomorrow. Promise you that Kenny's not going to start looking like the all-pro that everyone seems to think. It's like, I don't know what we're doing here.
That's one of the main arguments with, like, Justin. Oh, like,
that's why I'm, like, secretly, subconsciously so mad about it, too, like, I'm taking it out on the Bears fans.
You can't, like, wait for the perfect situation because the perfect situation is never going to come. Like, that's just the reality. So, my thing with Kenny Pickett is, he's just simply not playing good enough to like warrant this like protection. Like if he was putting up like 270, 280 yard games, like bro has 6 touchdowns this year, like 6 touchdowns in 10, or he's played 9 games. Like garbage.
Okay, so this is what I've really been thinking recently, because I'm just gonna use this example forever. I will, because it's objectively a fact. I'll use Brady right in that Tampa Bay era, right after Bruce Arians left. You know, he retired. And you could see, look, Brady wouldn't be happy with the offense a lot of the time. He'd be like, this is garbage. The product we're playing is garbage. We're not playing good enough to our standard. But guess what? He was still out there throwing like 300 yards a week. He was still out there getting multiple touchdowns. Like the excuses, you can acknowledge it's trash when you're maximizing it, and it still is trash. If you're trash on top of the fact that it's trash, there's really not any room for me to sympathize with you.
I think a good thing too, like that we can look at as well. I mean, like it doesn't really work this week because Najee had a good week, but like they were feeding Najee the ball over and over and over and over again. It wasn't working. Then they try Jaylen Warren basically at RB1 and it works. Like maybe he's just not the guy. Like if anything, just look at your running backs. Like it is so true that like maybe the guy that's not performing well, regardless of the offensive coordinator, is just not good.
That's what that call it for what it is too. Let's just call it for what it is. I didn't even think about it like this till you said it. Maybe, just maybe, are the Steelers riding a little bit too much on how much that they had valued these guys in the draft instead of just accepting that the value they are getting is not what they spent on them? It's like if I'm behind the scenes with them, these guys are like, no, I spent a first round pick on those motherfuckers. Like, use them. It's like, but they're not first round talent.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. It do not matter. It's like how the Bills drafted a 6th round corner and the 1st round corner, and the 6th round corner sees the field way more than the 1st round corner. It does not matter. You play who you got value out of. Jaylen Warren does not matter the value that you spent on him. He plays with better value than Najee. Call us fucking crazy.
I mean, also, like, just to keep going on the Steelers offense, like, George Pickens just being super limited in the pass game, like, not doing much, whether that has to do with him, whether it has to do with Matt Canada, whether that has to do with Kenny Pickett. It's just like this offense outside of the run game, not to even say the run game is good, like, it just sucks.
And I'll say that's another note I had. Let's call it for what that. We're calling so much for what it is right now. When you only have 3 receptions, 45 yards, if those are the numbers, right? 3 or 45, and you're the team's leading receiver and leading receptionist, garbage.
I mean, no one had more than 4 targets for the Steelers.
Garbage. And I have no affiliation to Steelers, and it's making me mad. That's how you know you're really fucking up as a team, when I can sit here and get mad and I have no affiliation.
Well, that's the thing too, is like going to the other side of the ball. I mean, like you were saying, like the main thing is like the Steelers defense is dragging them to wins, which basically did happen this game, and they did so with only having 1 sack. Going to the Packers offense, like Jordan Love didn't even play that great, and they won the game. And it's like, but Jordan Love at least did enough to win them, or not to win them, to get them in a position to win the game. Like at the end of the day, the Packers run D let up 200 yards on the ground. Like that just can't happen.
Well, okay. Like, that's the thing. So, number one, with Jordan Love, I think if you're looking at this game from the perspective of, like, did Jordan Love sell the game? No, not necessarily. But on top of it, he did throw the interceptions, I feel like, at the end that solidified them, like, all right, we're taking this L, because that's where the issue came into place, is like the Packers definitely had potential to win this game multiple times. The 2 interceptions at the end of the game, critical. The one the one in the corner of the end zone, and then there's one in the last play where the one in the last play, it is what it is. Last play of the game is bound to happen. That was kind of just like, it was your last play of the game is going to be last play of the game. Sometimes it is what it is. The receiver communication, I can be what it was. But the bottom line I'm trying to make is when you got 2 shots to win the game and you throw 2 turnovers, it's going to rub your fan base the wrong way. It's going to rub everyone the wrong way. But there's so many problems too, where it's like the Packers offense and Steelers offense at this point, they might as well be, you know me, my shaking hand emoji. They're like the shaking hand emoji. I mean, minus the fact that I do feel like I have much more faith in the upside of Jordan Love, at least versus upside of Kenny. It's like, I'm sorry, call me a hater. It's just, I don't see it the same at all. It's just, I don't. And weird day too, where the Packers, like A.J. Dillon completely outplayed Aaron Jones. But then also I know, and we have to discuss it, what has Christian Watson been on?
Garbage,
like
shit.
Like, I don't know if I've seen a quicker, like, well, I have, I'm sure. I mean, I'm just saying this like recency bias moment, but I'll say it like this. I can't think of one in recent time more where I went from being like, wow, like that guy really looks like he could be future all-pro talent to like, no, fuck that. I jumped the gun. My bad, guys. My bad. That's definitely like Christian Watson for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the Packers offense has a lot more upside, but Christian Watson, it almost feels like this year just needs to be a wash. Like, damn near chalk it up to an L and get ready for next year, because you are supposed to be the number 1 receiver in this super young, inexperienced offense, and you're being outperformed by like Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, which Romeo Doubs had hype, and Jaden Reed has been great as a rookie. Well, I want to say great.
There goes my alarms.
Good
my
as
signature.
a rookie. It's just this wide receiver room, in my opinion, is really thin when you take Watson out in terms of impact.
Well, so what I wanted to pivot to is, no, absolutely. That's what's funny is, you know, and I'll say it like this. I mean, you know, especially I'm a high school alumni with the man. I knew that it's like you got some bias towards him. I'll say, like, regardless though, I kind of had a feeling some way, somehow this was going to happen, where Jaden was going to come in and end up being like the more productive receiver than almost everyone in there. And he could really be that number 1 receiver quickly out of the slot, or however they want to use him, because that's just how he is. But I didn't think that on top of Jaden producing how he is, and for a rookie, that
it would affect Watson.
That Watson was just going to completely shit the bed. And with Romeo, you get flashes and you get really good catches from him. I'm not going to sit here and debate that. He does have like splash plays pretty much every week, but there's just not a lot of them. You have like one really good catch and then it'll be like, where's the chemistry? Right. Where is the consistent? There's no consistency between him and Jordan Love. You'll have one splash play where you're like, oh my God, what a connection they have. And then they will not be one of them for the next week. It's like, you can't really build much on that.
I think a big thing too is I feel like Pittsburgh really has an identity crisis on offense. And in terms of like a team having identity crisis, Tennessee at Tampa Bay, like, what are the Bucs? Like, what are the Bucs? Like, they win, but like, what are they?
No, I think, and I think Bucs fans, it's weird to have to say this. I didn't know when I thought I'd picture me saying this about anyone else, like, or not anyone else, but the Saints and the Bucs being the teams that I'm going to say this about. But are the Saints and the Bucs shaking hands?
They might be.
Like, are they? Like, in terms of like, they could show up one week, really good team, show up the next week, literal garbage dumpster fire. They have a good defense, but sometimes the defense doesn't show up how you'd expect them to. And then you have explosive pieces all over the offense, but then some weeks the offense is super flat. I mean, at this point, the Bucs and the Saints are like shaking hands. I hate to have to do it, but that's exactly. So yeah, they are identityless. Really, what is the Bucs' identity? They are in the exact same boat. I wish I could even debate this in the slightest, but not at all.
The Bucs' offensive identity is Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. Like, that's literally all they are. Rachaad White has been coming on as of late, and it's been nice to see, but he's not like a top 5 running back.
He's just also very much in that flash category. Like, oh, like those are the flashes I wanted to see, but then there'll be a lot of plays the rest of the game where like, oh no, and then like other play, and then moments even like a couple weeks afterwards, like I'm waiting to see another splash like that again. It takes weeks to see that same. Yeah. So it's like, we always knew like Rachaad White, he's an NFL player. Rachaad White's, you know, he's got skill, he's got good talent, but it's not enough where it's going to elevate this Bucs offense to anything beyond what it is now. And it's like,
honestly, like before we go over to Tennessee, because there's really not much on this game, I feel like Tampa really could have benefited from just taking Will Levis in the first.
What the hell is that?
Oh, my bad. It's an ad playing from my computer.
Dude,
yeah.
I thought something was like coming through the window or something.
Nah.
No, wait, repeat that point.
I would say, why didn't the Bucs take Levis? he would have been in a much better situation.
So, well, and that's something else I was going to have to move over to in a sec here, is with Will, if you're a Titans fan, you're probably starting to panic to yourself. And you're like, oh no, like that first week. I think this was bound, like this was going, we knew it. Like this was bound to happen. Like no matter how good you started, and we saw like, okay, we saw him at his peak. Like that's Will at his peak already from week one. Like you're not going to see that consistently, probably really right start of the career, but it was great to see it. I know realistic person, regardless. If this downward trend keeps happening for like the next 4 or 5 weeks, then I'll be with you guys. I start panicking. Because then it does really turn into a Marcus Mariota 2.0 type of feeling. You're like, fuck this. But it's just way too early. Don't do that to yourselves yet. Like, way too early. And again, the Bucs defense, for a young QB especially, it's a tough defense to play against. Like, you got a lot of big bodies in that D-line. You got some experience in the secondary. Like, it's a tough game. So I wouldn't panic yet. Keep your eye on it, but don't panic. I think Will be just fine. Titans run game, too. It's 2.6 yards per carry on 16 carries. I mean...
Garbage.
It's like Will can't get going with that. Like that's just you're not going to get going. Kyle Phillips though, interesting.
I mean, also one of the arguably worst O-lines in the NFL.
Well, exactly. On top of it, and then back to the receiving core. Kyle Phillips has been your leading receiver 2 weeks in a row. Concerned that he doesn't have as much of a chemistry with D-Hop as we might have thought, but regardless, we know that D-Hop still putting up better numbers with him. So you got to if you're a hot fantasy manager, regardless, you like that no matter what. But I just think it's interesting. Kyle Phillips. Leading receiver 2 weeks in a row.
So teams with no identity to teams with identity. Well, at least one of them. San Francisco at Jax. Does this game say more about the San Francisco 49ers or the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I think it says, like you said before we started, I'm with you 100%. It says way more about the Jaguars, unfortunately, for our narratives than it does for the 49ers. Because we already knew. Like, Niners get healthy again. We know what the Niners are. Like, there's never a doubt about the Niners. Really, it was just health and Purdy's little, like he had to come back down to earth for a little bit. We had to realize that, and it's like, all right, but we know what the Niners are. Like that's never been in question. But with the Jaguars, kind of is. It was kind of like we still want to see more from this offense. Defense has good weeks, but then they're bound to every once in a while have that week where they're going to fall apart, and because they can't hold this offense forever that has been underperforming. That's really where we get into the problems. Like Trevor Lawrence, not even, I don't want to use the word regression yet because the season isn't over.
Right.
Because last year was kind of weird too, where he didn't really start turning it up until the end of the season.
Halfway, yeah.
But, so I guess the narrative is just is that T-Law's MO? Does he not it's like we're going to have to keep our eye on this narrative. Regardless of how you want to slice it, you're going to have to be saying to yourself, if you're a Jags fan, I'm not comfortable with how slow we've been starting, how slow it takes us to get into a groove. And I want to see T-Law consistently showing me he's the guy. You don't want a franchise QB that's only showing you he's the guy half the year. And that's the point that's at this point, I'm saying that best case scenario for this year, because if that was the case and he ends up being that guy and he ends up coming back and showing us that he still is the same T-Law that he was last year, which I still do believe, but he still's got to do that. If he doesn't do that and the rest of the year goes the way it's been now, we look at these numbers at the end of the year, some serious questions are going to start coming into place.
I mean, also Calvin Ridley, what's going on with him? It's some weeks he's great, some weeks he's horrible. I mean, they have Christian Kirk who can pick it up, but when you get Ridley, you expect him to be that dominant number one, and he just hasn't been.
I think if you're going to call a spade, unfortunately, on this one, I do think people, I'm going to say I'm people in this one. I'm officially now people, because I was someone, I think people underestimate how much a year away removed from being in the job environment. I think that, it's like we say to ourselves as the fan, it's no, dude, it's just get back out there. It's like when you take yourself out learning the playbook every day and all the stuff that goes into everything related to being a pro football player, and you get out of that mode, and you got to get back into that mode. I think maybe I underestimated, maybe we as a whole, as an NFL whole populace, underestimated just a little bit, how tough it is to get back to that same mode you were in, and with health. You never know.
Yeah.
What could he could have, maybe just got older, had a couple, these injuries in the past start adding up. It is what it is. I think he got a little older, a little time away from the game. He's still a talented receiver, but that inconsistency, I think, stems what else could it stem from?
Right. Well, the Jags defense sucked. Only 2 sacks, let up 34 points. But it's almost like everybody on the Niners had a good day, a very good day.
Except CMC, which we had to bring this up. Fallen 1 game short. He had a good day still, but fallen 1 game short of the tie on that touchdown record. Unfortunate.
It's
Especially
crazy
if you're a CMC
that
fan.
I mean, CMC almost had like 150 yards from scrimmage, but like when he doesn't score, like he just doesn't get brought up.
That's why I
It's
couldn't
crazy.
say he had a bad day. I'm like, I can't say he had a bad day. He's still CMC. Like that man he's still running crazy. But just, without touchdown. And then but I think I want to give a shout out to Debo. Hey, look, you got 7 carries, 69 yards, a touchdown. I mean, that's a great day. Like getting yourself back into the mix. You can't ask for much more. Like we wanted to get, you're a Niners fan, you want to get Debo back in, see him take reps, but not hurting.
Seven total between carries and receptions.
Yeah. So you kind of mix him in. Exactly. You kind of give him opportunities to get involved different ways, get back into the flow. If you're Shanny, if you're Debo, you got to respect that from Shanny, not throwing you back out into that fire, getting you acclimated back into things.
Kittle went crazy today.
So this was, I'm going to make sure I'm exactly right about this. What was only his, back-to-back weeks with 100+ yards. Let me just fact check myself real quick because I don't want to say the wrong thing on it. But he's only had 2 games this year above 100 yards, which was the last 2. So, maybe getting in that groove just at the right time. Doesn't matter at the beginning of the year. It's how you end it. If you're a Niners fan, earlier was the best, but if you can keep this going now consistently, this is the time to get it going. Like the early part of the year was really good, but now this is really time to get gelling. So,
well, also just to end it, I mean, 5 sacks, Chase Young on the D line now, they could be scary. I mean, the 49ers already are horrifying, but with Chase Young and getting in a groove, their defensive line could be really nightmarish for whoever they play.
Adding Chase was the move that put them in line to be able to compete with the Eagles. Not that they weren't already able to, but we saw last year, it's the Eagles really are that team out the NFC. But you had a guy like Chase, get a few bounces to go win the championship game, sack fumble or something. Hey, this was the move you got to make, or you had to make if you're the Niners.
So it looks like the Jags sold their chance at the 1 seed. Who sold the game for Baltimore yesterday?
See, okay, I want to address this because I've seen somehow this is turning into the narrative now. Interesting. People are putting all the blame on Lamar. Time out a minute. Hold on a minute here. Now, not only, the pick 6, rough, but also a tip ball. And tip balls are volatile, man. Number one. So it's if Lamar just put that thing right in someone's breadbasket and let them return to the crib for 6, I would view this a little bit differently. But that's just not what happened. So it's I think, it's some people are commenting on this. It's hold on, did you even watch? Because tip balls, it's it's not convenient. It's not a good thing for anybody, but you really can't put it too much on the QB. That shit's going to happen, right? Especially when the defensive back can make a play on the ball when it's on the air. Right. Regardless, not a good game from Lamar. I'm not going to sit here and baby the man and lie about it. No, the man it wasn't a good game. But regardless of all that, he Lamar cannot have the greatest game ever, and it's not going to be the Ravens or his fault completely that the Ravens lost. There's a lot of reasons they lost this game, on top of the fact that, yes, Lamar did make some crucial mistakes at the end. But look, the Ravens' run game has been moving well.
Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, I would say Keaton
Mitchell. J.K. Dobbins.
So this was the first thing I was going to say, where you got to start questioning what happened on the day. I know, okay, maybe they were trying to make sure he wasn't, he's staying healthy, that he's not going to, you're trying to gauge it out, keep him healthy for the rest of the year because you want to have him for the playoffs and all that. I understand how that works too. But look, only 4 touches on the day and he averaged 16.5 yards per touch, right? I mean, let's lean into that. I think part of the reason with this sometimes is, especially towards the end of the game, the Ravens, it felt like to me, maybe going a little bit too much, trying to rely on Lamar a little too much. It's we can still mix in this run game. I know this was a game too where Gus Edwards 11 carries, 24 yards, 2.2 a carry. I get it. It's the Browns D line. The Browns D line is going to be tough, right? I mean, it's just is going to be what it's going to be. But all I'm trying to say is that more than anything, not even just this game, this narrative that somehow, some way, especially from mainstream places like ESPN and stuff, that Lamar is the problem when the Ravens lose. I just don't see it at all. And the Ravens defense is just getting a complete pass for letting the Browns march down the field the last 2-3 times to end the game. I mean, you can't, the defense has got to come into the equation somewhere here too. I know that, again, the pick 6 on top. Okay. But they still let them come down here and get, once they already were up 2-3 possessions early, they still let them come back, march. The defense is not in question at all for that. I just can't more than anything, this narrative with Lamar is becoming very tiring.
And it's kind of crazy because the defense actually played pretty well most of the day. It was just kind of at the end when they folded. Obviously Kyle Hamilton had the pick six, which was what was it? It was a tip ball, right? At first?
No, that's
from
that,
Deshaun.
Yeah, that
was early on.
Yeah, that was literally like one of the first plays of the game. So that was just a crazy, and that was a great play. But that's why I had to give a shot at that one.
I think Clowney's overperformed this year too.
He's having a good year, and honestly, on side of him, I had to give a shout out to Adefe Owe. Hell of a season. Like sack numbers, nothing crazy. Like he's only got 3 sacks. Sacks numbers aren't popping. You're like, oh, but if you're just looking at the stat sheet, you're not gonna understand what I'm saying. Trust me, if you're a Ravens fan, you know what I'm saying. Adefe always been getting to the crib. He gets to that QB often, and regardless of whether he hits him or not, he's making you get that ball out quick. He's getting in run fits. He gets in the backfield. Very, very nice edge rusher, and he's not getting the praise he deserves.
Talk about a hell of a season. Myles Garrett, DPOY.
If the season ended today, he's probably getting the nod from a lot of people, right?
Oh, he has to be. I mean, he has 11 sacks.
There's like this
Four
real kind
fumbles.
There's like this rivalry starting to form between Browns fans and Steelers fans, between like, is TJ better or is Myles better?
I think I'd take Myles.
If you're a Browns fan, you got to say this year, it's almost like for pride reasons. Myles has got to bring home for y'all this year. So you kind of, then you can kind of get back up there with the TJ guys. Right now they have it over you. They're like, well, you don't got that defense player of the year. It's like, hold on now. We definitely might. Especially seeing how Myles has been doing things. Myles is like, it's like I said, it's not even just he's a special teams wrecker. Like Myles he's just if it's about defending the other team in any way, he's gonna be there.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I guess on the other side of the ball, this has definitely been Deshaun, especially in the second half. This is not what you traded for in Deshaun, but at least a step in the right direction.
Yeah, this was probably, I would say, not his best, but this was definitely a top 3 one. And in terms
of Brown.
Yeah, exactly. In his career, absolutely not. But as a Brown, this was probably the one you can definitely look at to maybe the most, where you're like, hold on though. Like that's what I want from him. Like that drive to end the game, money. Like that, like where you can be like, that's the Deshaun I need. This was the first game you can really point to me like, that's the Deshaun we need if we're gonna make it to where we want to make it with this roster, right? And I'll say, on top of Deshaun, you know what? Jerome Ford, in wake of Nick Chubb, he's been playing real solid. He's not Nick Chubb. He's not Nick Chubb. But he surely will show up and give you 100 yards every few weeks at least. If you're a Browns fan, you got to respect that.
Oh,
you got to appreciate that.
I mean, something I want to say, like, he had a touchdown, but maybe we were tweaking when the Jets, like, weren't involving Elijah Moore. And we were like, why aren't they involving him?
I know Browns fans will appreciate this one. Shouts to Elijah Moore, man. Finally get that touchdown in the Browns uniform. Yeah, I think the Jets were onto something.
Yeah. Kind of the last point you had is that Amari Cooper stays hot.
He's been streaking. And that's where I think it's interesting, and you really got to rock with it if you're the Browns. Like, not only does he make it work with PJ, he makes it work with Deshaun. Like, Amari's the type of guy, just QB friendly, man. Amari's like, give me the damn hot dog vendor, dude. I will find a way to go get 4 or 5 catches because I'm going to just be QB friendly. I'm going to sit where I need to sit. I'm going to keep moving where I need to keep moving. Great hands. Like, Amari's just the QB's best friend.
Rolling with the punches. The Cardinals have been rolling with the punches all year, and they finally get their second win. The first game, Kyler comes back. Atlanta at Arizona. How good can the Cards be with Kyler Murray at quarterback this year?
Well, okay, so you know what? I didn't think that was going to be the question. So let me stall myself for a second here. And I'm pulling up their schedule on the side because I actually want to give you kind of a realistic number of what I think that we could see that in the year here. All right, look, hear me out, gang. You got the Texans up next, Rams, Steelers, Niners, no, Bears, Seahawks to end the year. I would say every game that I just listed is potentially winnable game. Not that they're going to win it, potentially. And if they won all of those, they'd be in a much better situation than they're not. I mean, that is a weird. If they could get up there to, what would that be, 6 or 7 wins? I know it'd be 6 or 7. That'd be very weird. I think
if they could get 5 wins, that would be very impressive.
I think that the number I'm looking at though, yeah, if I had to pick though, I'm going 4 or 5. I think that we can definitely see them get up to. I'll go 5. I think we can see the Cardinals finish the year 5-12. I was about to talk about this man next. Trey McBride has been really coming into his own. Like, but it was before Kyler got back too, obviously. So he's been coming into his own. And then to see him have another explosive game with Kyler out there, like the Cardinals offense, obviously there still is like a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be happy with where things are, in my opinion, from where the expectations were going into the year. Like, I thought it was going to be, even with Josh Dobbs, like, I thought Josh Dobbs was going to be struggling to put up like 7 to 14 points a game, like consistently, where it's like, there was multiple games this year where the Cardinals put up more than that. And you're like, hey, even with Josh Dobbs, it's like, hold on a minute. These boys can cook a little bit. And you go throw Kyler back in the mix, knowing that, yes, this offense still has a lot of work to be done. But I think if you're the Cardinals, especially the way that game ended, I think that scramble at the end, really, you got to say to yourself, you're the GM and your coach, you're like, I literally can't get that from anyone else. Like, besides, even like, that's type of scramble where it's like, even like, there's like, Kyler and Lamar have like different types of scrambles. Like, it's like Lamar is faster and more elusive, but Kyler is like, he's so small that in certain little like windows and frames, it's like your legs would be too long. They get hit by, so like, Kyler can just escape out of these really freaky little frames.
Kyler runs all like frantic.
Yeah, like
Lamar is just agile.
So it's like, I think Kyler's like the one QB that would have been able to get that third down run and the changing all these directions. So it's like that. I'm going to say this. If I'm the Cardinals GM, I'm saying that's my guy. Like, I'm sticking with that guy. We're building around this guy, and we're going to go from there, especially with the draft capital we're going to have. I think your questions got answered already almost if you're a Cardinals fan, because he didn't even play that good either, but you see how much the offense elevates with him being here.
Well, I think that another thing, too, is with having Jonathan Gannon as the coach, like, you've seen the elevation of defense, even if they haven't been, like, one of the best in the league. Like, they are definitely good. Like, Ojulari, you put that he had 2 sacks. I mean, Dennis Gardeck had a sack yesterday. He has 5 on the year. Like, they have these little pieces that have been showing out.
And that's what I wanted to say. No, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because what's funny about that too is, look, and no disrespect to either of them. They're both playing good years this year. Gardeck's having a really good year. And BJ Ojulari, he shows you a couple plays here and there. I actually think these were his first couple sacks on the year, if not half sacks that he's had before. But point is, he's finally starting to get home more. But the real I'm trying to say is, on top of all of it, you're doing it with guys that are not even big, super strong, athletic, fearsome edge guys. Like, the Cardinals don't even have really any pieces in place, and you're still seeing like, okay, like, this is what's going to look like though.
Right.
Like, let me get these pieces in place. Let me get my guys. And then when Gardeck is like a rotational guy and not even just the starter, or you get my point, he might be on a different team, whatever the case is, and a guy playing like Gardeck is not even the starting guy. The product's going to be a really good product. You're like, hold on, these aren't even the best guys I can have out here, and we still look like a pretty good defense right now. Like, it's only up from here.
Oh, no, I agree. I think also this game says a lot more about who the Falcons are as a team than who the Cardinals are. Because even before like this game happened, even if Kyler didn't come back, I think I still would have picked the Cardinals, honestly. Like, the Falcons, they blow it. 70 passing yards against the Cardinals.
And then even like, it's not even like, that's like the type of number where, like, hold on, let me get the exact number in mind. Because I don't want to mess it up. They threw the ball. Yeah, they threw the ball 21 times. I was gonna say, like, normally you hear something like that and you're like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, they went to the third string guy and
this
threw the
doesn't
ball
make
4
sense.
times.
It says 70 yards, but it said Ritter had 39 and Heineke had 55. Why? Wait, why is it saying 70?
See, I'm thinking the same thing, but there must be some type of contingency where it gets deducted somehow or something.
So anyway, that's less than 100 yards still. It's 94 yards.
Where I say, regardless, it's exactly, no matter how you're going to slice it, whether ESPN lied to me about the exact stat or not, they're under 100. And yeah, in the modern era, that's unacceptable. As you already knew this, no matter what team you're a fan of, that's unacceptable. Even when you're the Giants and you got Tommy DeVito out there.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. And I hate to say it because, again,
they have to be subtracting the sacks. That's what it is.
No,
they had 24 yards.
That is the only thing that's what I was going to say. That's what it has to be on top of it. But it's like if you're the Falcons fans and if you're the Falcons GM, look, it's getting sad, at least for me, because I think you feel the same way. We're kind of like we were pro Art Smith, it's like Art Smith, he had a lot of things we liked, but now there's kind of this arbitrary, like, it's just like this, because I think it's like official, but there's like this, what's the word I'm looking for here? There's like this feeling being attached to him now. And it's like with Art Smith, it's almost like he's
too snobby.
There's like this end of game disaster feeling also like attached to him now. Like, there's been so many end game, whether it's a debacle or close to end game, like where they almost blow it at the end. Unfortunately, I feel like when I'm watching Art Smith, it's kind of turning into like his MO at this point. I'm like, oh man, they're either going to fold on him or he's going to fold on them and not play who he needs to play right now. Throw the ball to John New on 4th down. I mean, jokes aside, it's like, yeah. Art went very fast from being like, he's maximizing this team to like, oh, wait a minute. No, wait. Is he like actually really holding them back?
He's misusing talent really badly.
Like, the shift has happened very fast, and I can't defend it anymore because it's only cute for so long, and you can only use the decoy thing for so long. When you're actually mixing it in with the non-decoys, when the whole offense is a decoy show and you're not even in the playoff race, I have to ask who decided this was a good idea.
At least Bijan got more touches this game. That is like the only positive from this. Drake London getting 4 targets, Kyle Pitts getting 5. It's just like each of those guys should have damn near close to 10.
Well, yeah, no, there's absolutely. And I think the thing about this, if you're a Falcons fan, you have to be the most depressed about, is because I know how I would feel, is like you blew the most premier shot you had.
Yeah.
Probably all year to go back and be in the lead of the NFC South.
Like, think about it. Like, Cordero Patterson is touching the ball more than Drake London. Like, why?
It makes no sense because it makes no sense. And on top of it, look, you get to play the Saints next week if you're the Falcons. You would have had a chance to go up then at that point 2 games because you already have the one. No, but now, and you already had the game above us in the advantage. No, and so now we have a chance to go up on you for real again more. And it's like, it's just, it's very, very disappointing for a Falcons fan. So not if you're a Saints fan, but.
Questionable offense from the Falcons. Not questionable offenses this next game. Detroit at Los Angeles Chargers. Do the Lions have the best offense in the NFL?
No. I'll say no because they've showed me, unfortunately, I wish I could say they do, but they still do have those weeks. Like the Lions have had those weeks where they show me like, okay, no, hold up. Whenever a defense is going to show up and play them in really elite that day, like they might not have it like that yet, like they still have had those games where they got shut out. But I'll say Lions have shown us they're a top 5 offense, even borderline top 3 offense, where they're going to show up 9 out of 10 weeks, right? And yeah, this was just another game where it shows you. But it's funny because, it's like I wish I could gas the Lions offense more on this one. I think really what I'm going to turn this into is I'm going to turn it more into like, no, this is just Brandon Staley's defense. Like this, I think this is just the Staley defense effect.
Okay.
Like, yeah, because we already knew the Lions offense is good. When you bring a good offense against a garbage defense, like the Chargers, garbage.
Yeah, you can look at it like that. And now that you say that, looking at it that light, like I more agree with that because this defense has too many pieces on it for it to be that bad.
Well, that's where it's like, me. I'm big on like carrying my narratives over from last year. But that's what's funny is this is not a narrative from last year. This is about a 2-year-old narrative at this point. Like Staley has consistently showed you he's not the guy. Like, what more do you want? At this point, Telesco needs to see him holding up a fucking sign that says, yo, Telesco, I'm literally not the guy for shit. Because he, like, I tell you, none of the other signs break through to the ownership group at this point. Like, nothing breaks through. Apparently, I get it. I'm being a dick because they're not going to fire him halfway through the year. The Chargers are still competitive enough. And, right, it's like you have enough of a chance with, and right, I get it, the optics of the team, that you can't fire a guy like that mid-season. But if you don't fire him after this year, as you should have fired him after last year, jig's up. I mean, I have no faith in anything about the organization at that point. I don't think that's going to be the case. But what I'm really trying to say is if you're a Chargers fan, this year's got to feel like shit because you're like, well, we just held ourselves back a year on the Herbert contract because we have the most inept defensive coach ever claiming and faking he's a head coach.
Well, the thing that's frustrating too is like you see this resurgence of like Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert playing out so well. And I would attribute that to Kellen Moore, but it's almost like, damn, your offense is actually operating like they should, and your defense can't pick it up. Like, Keenan Allen is just out of his mind this year. And to kind of go on the opposite side of the Brandon Staley sucks, I mean, like, Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year, maybe?
I think if we're looking at it from the with the optics point of view, you got to give it to him, right? Because, like I said before we started this segment, there's been a few other fans, like Eagles fans, trying to claim like, no, Nick Sirianni turned this franchise around the same way he did. It's like, if you're looking at it without any context, but we're looking at it in context of like, the Eagles and the Lions are 2 completely different franchises. The Lions literally were the most bleak outlook team for 60 plus years. And you have Dan Campbell come in here, completely changed around in 3 seasons. Yeah, I think from that perspective, you have to give it to Dan. And when you look at that, no, it's way different than Nick Sirianni, who comes into a franchise that had just won their first Super Bowl. Yeah, disappointing time after it. But you get what I'm saying? We see Doug is still a guy.
Yeah.
No, Nick's like, it is what it is. But to compare Nick and Dan Campbell, and I think to compare anybody to Dan Campbell at this point, and what Dan has done with the Lions, it's disrespectful.
I mean, Goff, Amon-Ra are lighting it up. Both the running backs are lighting it up. Like the Lions offense is just electric. I don't really know what more there is to say about the Lions offense. I mean, do you have any closing thoughts in regards to that? Because like Amon-Ra has been playing out of his mind.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that I really wanted to say, yeah, I mean, the 4 straight weeks of 100 plus receiving yards is just, I mean, I knew he was on a streak, but I know he was streaking like that. And yeah, last note I had to say, because it really is, I have to give them the props. I mean, that Lions running back room is just an offensive coordinator's dream. Like,
oh, yeah.
You have the balance, the speed, the burst of Jameer and the pass catching ability, but then you also got this big, bruising, wrecking, just mean fucking, just, I want to take the whole rest of the team down, David Montgomery. Like, that's just, like, you can't draw up a better combo than that.
No. And another combo you can't draw up is Dak and CeeDee Lamb. They have been on a tear. So let me ask you this, and I'm asking this strictly because I know it's going to spark some bullshit. Is Dak Prescott a top 10 quarterback?
No, but he can be, and depending on the week. That's what's funny, is like Dak is definitely in that realm of he's either going to show up and be a bottom 20 guy or a top 10 guy. And there's almost no between. It's like Dak's not going to show up and just be mid-tier. It's funny. He's either going to show up bottom 20 or top 10. He leaves out that middle range. But this was definitely one of those games where he played a banger of a day. Dak showed you what you want to see. And like we always say about Dak and the Cowboys, a little bit different. It's like you have such a good O-line and such a good receiving core. We pretty much expect. I expect more weeks like this than I do get. But I'm not going to get on Dak. He's having a much better year than he was last year. Like, we're keeping the turnovers down. It's really the main thing you want to see.
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys don't have to do a ton to have a good week, right? It's like that's the whole thing. So I'm not going to sit here and gas him. But at the same time, he's doing what he has to do, right? Like, he's just doing what he has to do. And against the Giants, though, I mean, when they're playing like this right now, I expect you to win by at least 30. Hey, you got the job done. Like, but I'm not going to gas him too much. I think more than anything, though, I wanted to go in on just let's just review how I'm trying to think of like the right vocabulary for this game. I can't even think of the right bad word for what I want to say here. Like, let's just, I mean,
a shit show.
That's just no. That's too nice. Like, it's like was in an abhorrent game. I mean, was that like I'm trying to think of a word that you would never even use in the realm because that's how bad this game was. Giants outgained 640 to 172. Giants 61 passing yards. Cowboys 472 passing yards. Giants 0 of 12 on third down. Cowboys 6 of 12 on third down.
0 of 12 is brutal.
I mean, what's funny is they were like 2 of third on fourth down, if I'm not mistaken. But it doesn't matter. He still lost by 30 plus. Giants allow 5 sacks. Cowboys allow 0. Saquon trying his very best desperately to hold anything about this team in place. Team not being held in place.
5.1 yards per carry behind that offensive line. Give that man the MVP.
I was going to say, like, no, jokes aside, you know what? If the one thing I'll take from the Giants season is Saquon is definitely telling everyone out there,
he deserves
I want to win, man. No,
yeah.
like, I want to be just someone, please, that wants to win. Throw me a bone. Let me come on your roster, dude. I want to be a part of something because that man fights, and I give credit where it's due. There's not a lot of guys that fight like that in as bleak of a situation as Saquon, especially with the injury history he has and everything. Yeah, credit where that's due. Yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb, first player, like we said, a historic streak, first player in NFL history, 3 straight weeks, 10 plus catches, 150 plus yards. I mean, bang. And then the Brandon Cooks vintage explosion.
Brandon Cooks.
9
This is what we've been expecting
yards?
from him all year. It is so frustrating that like he has not had a game, not even like this, like 3/4 of this year. Like he's still talented.
He is. No, that's why, like, you want to see a game like this where, yes, CeeDee's cooking on his own, but then it opens up opportunities for the other receivers. This is best case scenario for the Cowboys. They've been rolling on it for a few weeks here. And I also had to give a shout out to Darren Bland, the pick machine, man. I don't even know if that's his nickname. I'm officially making that his nickname.
Pick machine.
Darren Bland, the pick machine. If you didn't know it, now you know it. That man's a machine of picks. 10 career interceptions, 26 career games. I mean, he's literally due to give it to you more than 1/3. He's more like, what is the word I'm looking for here? It's gonna be more than 1/3 of the time, less than half, but somewhere in between. Like the man is a pick machine.
Not a top 10 QB. But where does Sam Howell rank out of the 4 QBs in the NFC East? Let's say the Giants are starting Daniel Jones. Is he better than Daniel Jones?
Oh, for sure. Dude, no, like timeout. Hold on a minute. I got to really think here because obviously you're not putting him above
Jalen, no.
We're not putting him above Jalen, but I'll say he's definitely number 2 because I'm sorry.
Over Dak?
No, but like,
That's what I was about to say.
no, but like, what I really mean to say, I do believe he's headed towards number 2 though, because I can't put him over Dak yet. I think in 2 years tops. Yeah, though. Like,
okay.
I mean, I think Sam's shown me, but that's what's weird about Dak though. It's like I say, where it sucks is Dak goes from being bottom 20 to top 10. So it's like 1 week with Dak, you're like, that's the Dak I know. Like, that's the Dak I grew up seeing.
Right.
You know, when I was youngin' and he was out there ball. But then
oh
it's
my
like,
God.
I mean, but I know.
Sam Howell actually has better stats than.
Oh, he's
Dak
a gunslinger.
Prescott
No,
this
he's
year.
officially. I mean, I was gonna say I hate to say it, but I don't. I actually have no disaffiliation or affiliation with them. I have no problem with them. Honestly, Sam Howell's just officially in gunslinger territory. Like, and it's not even like it's not like it's like reckless gunslinger at all either. Like he makes a couple plays where you're like, it's a rookie moment. But like I said, ever since the Buffalo game, been absolutely minimalized. And like, it's gonna happen no matter what. When you're a young QB, unless you're CJ Stroud, like jokes aside, you're not gonna really show those. You're gonna show those, right? Like it's gonna happen. Minimalize the shit out of it. He's showing plenty of flashes. The arm talent looks really good. His decision making looks really, really good. He has great chemistry with his receivers already. Their O-line's not very good. I mean, it's like so much upside. So much upside around Sam Howell. I think it's only a matter of time before he takes that number 2 spot in the NFC East.
I mean, the thing that's nice is like the Commanders actually have really nice weapons around him. So he is like allowed to excel. Like if he had a better offensive line, like obviously he generates a lot of sacks himself, but if he had a better offensive line, like
well, that's where the draft capital's got to go, and there's not even a question. You're not even thinking about it at this point. It's going to the O-line, at least if you're a competent franchise, and this new ownership group knows what they're doing. It has to.
I mean, on the other side, like Geno Smith was gunslinging as well.
Geno Smith has been, Geno Smith has a week where you feel like you got to write him off. He reminds you why he said he can't. Like this is just, but with the Seahawks, it's just weird where it's like, it's like I don't even know how to feel about them in a game like this too, where it's like. I thought they were gonna, I don't know. Like I thought they would have won this a little more handedly, almost choked it up, especially the way that they just let the Commanders march down the field, very end. I get it though; they're a young defense. It's gonna stuff like that's gonna happen. Again, you find a way to win, you find a way to win, and you're still on top of the NFC West. So,
yeah. I mean, I think the thing is with the Seahawks is like. They're tied right now for first with, I mean, they're second in the NFC West, but they have the same record as the 49ers. I guess my thing is like, I don't see them competing with like the top teams in the.
Oh, wait, that is right there. But it's like, regardless, you're still sitting right there. But that's, like you're saying, it's like they haven't convinced me when it comes playoff time, they're going to make any swings.
Right.
It kind of still feels the same as it did last year.
On the other side too, like, the Commanders, like, they didn't really do much on defense this game.
The stat I really want to talk about here. I mean, this is glaring. 1 total sacks and trading Montez Sweat and Chase Young. I mean, I know you had to do it, but now you got to find the answer quicker than later because fans are going to start asking, wait a minute, where'd that production go? Because now the offense is productive. Let's not have a D-line that literally can't get any pressure. That's the worst situation to be in on defense.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now as a Saints fan. So, it's like, let's start to figure that out again too. Probably got to drop some premium price on that at this free agency. But that's what makes it weird is now you're like, well, we trade away our 2 guys or we're going to have to replace this now immediately afterwards. A little bit weird. That's why I kind of am questioning the fact they treated both of them away.
I agree. I think they didn't want to re-sign Chase. I don't think they like Chase in the building. So I think that's a reason why the Sweat deal was a little bit more confusing to me. Like I get if you get rid of Chase, I don't know why you get rid of both, especially on both edges. Obviously you pay both guys that are interior, but at that point, like edge is like a very valuable position. So, and
I know they got a good pick for it, second round pick, but regardless, using a second round pick to try to replace a guy like Montez Sweat early, probably not going to happen with second round pick no matter what. So it's like, like it could for sure, but upwards chances, no. So it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about those moves, to be honest, at all.
All right, Sunday night. If Aaron Rodgers comes back this year, can the Jets compete for a Super Bowl?
Absolutely. Because again, like we said about the AFC, it does not matter what record you're going with. It just matters about getting in there. I think what sucks is if you're the Jets, is it's starting to look more and more bleak of like actually getting in there though. Because I think this would be a week like you missed with the best. Against Raiders was the best example of like, man, like the defense did everything. And it's like this is just the Jets.
16 points and allowing 16 points and losing the game is ridiculous.
I mean, no, this one really did hurt to watch as a prior Zach Wilson stan back in the draft process. You know, if you've been watching the show for this long, you didn't know. I was like an OG Zach Wilson stan. I mean, OG, like college, like this man's got, but look, getting back to reality and now, I obviously know where things have went. And this was one that was really hard to watch because this is just one where you're like, man, Zach, just make a play.
Yeah.
Like, Zach, just one play. Like, they just need one play, Zach. Zach, they got to play. And I know, like Salah would say, it's not all on Zach, which is not. The offense just absolutely still has just been playing like garbage, regardless of Zach or not. Like, the offensive line is not good. The running back situation has been poor, but minus Breece Hall. But that's where it's weird, though. It's like, is it fair of me then to even say that Aaron Rodgers could bring them to a Super Bowl this year because of how bad everything else about the offense has been? It's like maybe at that point I'm putting too much stock in the legend that is Aaron Rodgers. But, you know, as much of a legend as he is, you can only uplift the team so much. And it's like,
I really think it's that O-line and Zach Wilson combo. Like, I don't think it's their skill positions.
No, that's what I'm saying. I can't get on Conklin and Garrett and all these boys. No, I'm not going to get on them. It's everything else about the way the offense is built, though. And I don't know if you saw, just a quick little side note. Salah was saying how he was defending Zach again in the press conference. I get it's his guy. I get that he's trying to. All I'm going to say is if you're Rob, you got to start being careful with that New York media, dude. I know. Rob's not listening to this right now, but I'm telling you, if that's some way you get this, hear me out. Like, you got to be careful with that New York media, man. Like, I feel like he's getting into that range of starting to play it down a little too much. And then if you get them against you, doesn't matter how much you've shown you know what you're doing, like Robert Saleh does. It's like if they get against you quick in New York, like,
oh yeah,
it can go downhill fast. And I feel like I'm starting to feel it lean, unfortunately, into like, oh man, what's this guy Saleh talking about? This guy Saleh, what the fuck? Like, because I've been seeing that's definitely been the consensus this morning with him being back on Zach's side, essentially saying Zach's fine. You know, like it has much more to do with the offense as a whole. Like, you got to be careful because when the fans feel one way strongly and you're basically telling them they're wrong, it's only a matter of time before they start scapegoating you too.
I think this was also a really big win for Antonio Pierce, the interim head coach for the Raiders. I mean,
huge.
It's been night and day since firing McDaniels.
And again, you could sit here and be like, but it was against the Jets. And again, it does not matter. Like we say, a win is a win. You got to fire up the guys to do it that week. And you're playing Aiden O'Connell. Like, you know, I think everybody, you know, us and then NFL Hype as a whole, maybe get a little excited on Aiden a little early because you see he's got some good stuff about him. You see the stuff he can do. But we also see there's still a ton of growth that has to happen for him to hit his ceiling. And realistically, you don't have a ton of like leeway to make splashes this year because of how much you have to mitigate the offense around his youngness, whatever that's even a word. You get my point.
Yeah.
His youth. Like, the whole situation with the Raiders is, yes, they don't really have the guy at the QB. So it's like you only can do so much. But with Antonio doing what he's doing, and I think showing, I don't know if I've seen a group of guys subscribe to a coach in quicker than this. I mean, this is like, again, like from how poor that the culture was to literally everybody saying the Raider way. I can't tell you how many times I've heard all these guys say the past few weeks, the Raider way. Like, nobody's talking about that when Josh McDaniels was there.
Nobody.
When you can go from having a team feeling like they have no identity to literally speaking in their own language 2 weeks later, it says all I need to know about you and how much you command them. Yeah. So if you're a Mark, or I was about a
Mark. Wait, now I'm screwing up.
I was about to call him Al Davis. Then I'm like, hold on, yeah. I was about to mix up Al and Mark somehow. Yeah. If you're Mark Davis, you got to say to yourself, I can't fuck this up twice. I saw how much the boys subscribed to Rich. We let Rich walk back to the Packers. I'm not doing that again. I'm taking my interim guy that's commanding these boys, and I'm just rocking with it.
Just give him a 2-year contract.
See, and if it doesn't work, you can just give him 1 year. You really could. Like, let me just give you another, see how this next year looks, and we'll go from there. Because you got to at least give him another. You have to. We got to at least see where it's going to go with a full year, the training camp, getting the actual, everybody on the same page really from day one. Let's see how it goes.
I agree. Well, that was all our games. So thank you guys for watching. You Don't Know Ball number 59. We'll be back next week with the Week 11 recap.
You know it. If you enjoyed, drop a like, drop a sub. We love having you around. Drop a like, drop a sub for real. Catch you guys next time.